Hello out there and welcome to the latest Seller Labs webinar. It's me, Will Marcotte. You might be wondering why I'm not wearing my lab coat. Basically, it's because it's hot and the air conditioner is running occasionally, but I am thrifty when it comes to that sort of thing. Our special guest, Robin, has another term for it, but let's not talk about that quite yet. We can come back to that a bit later. Robin, welcome.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. So happy to share about listing optimization, one of my favorite topics, and something that's changed a lot over the last couple years from when we first started talking about it. It's different now.
No kidding. Yeah, Amazon doesn't make many changes, right? Like that doesn't.
Oh yeah,
happen.
and they're always really good about announcing those changes too. So.
Right. Exactly. So Jeff, if you're watching, we agree 100%. But welcome everybody. It's great to have you here. As you can see in the chat, we'd love for you to chat with us about what you do, maybe where you're from, anything you want to chat about, really. The only caveat is if you have questions, we prefer you put those in the Q&A section of Zoom. But before we get into the nitty gritty, Robin, tell us a little about yourself.
So I started Amazon almost 13 years ago. I started buying and selling things. I first started buying things and selling them on Craigslist, then eBay and Amazon. I started with $100, built it to $1 million business in just a couple of years. Then I coached high volume sellers while I was selling high volume retail arbitrage and wholesale. And about 6 years ago, 6, 7, I've kind of lost track. We started our agency, which if you know me from Best from the Nest, we're now Marketplace Blueprint. See above sign. And we work with companies of variety of sizes, some small, some up to publicly traded. We've worked with companies that are in Home Depot and Lowe's and Walmart, and we do full Amazon management. And we also do like the creative and seller support tickets. In fact, we have 3 people that just sit on seller support tickets all day.
Wow, right on. Nice. That's great. Thank you for the information. Before, I know I use the word before a lot, but I'm going to continue to do it. You mentioned listings. It is arguably one of the most important things on Amazon when it comes to running your own Amazon business. My bread and butter is with the advertising, but again, I can drive as many impressions and clicks as I can, but if the listing isn't ready, the advertising won't convert. Now, before we get to Robin's presentation, let's get a before counter going, by the way. I do have a question. We have a poll for everybody. And all it is just asking to you, what's the hardest part of designing a listing? The hardest part is ... And it looks like Zoom didn't like other, so it's labeled choice 4. Appreciate
but maybe
that,
choice
Zoom.
4 is like a matrix thing we don't know about.
Maybe so, yeah. For my purposes and the purposes of this webinar, choice 4 is other. And I would love for you to specify, but you can't do it in the poll. Again, appreciate that, Zoom. So feel free to throw it in the chat instead if you'd like. We're going to give another 30 seconds or so for that poll to wrap up. And we're not going to give you our answer quite yet. So we're going to let Robin run through all of these things, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we've got quite a wide spread going here. Looks like the top 2 battling for top place is the structured data, that's category, material types, fabrics, etc., or the title. And we're going to go ahead and end the poll in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 28%. Oh, 29%. I'll say title. Now, again, if you said other, looks like we have a handful of others. Feel free to put in chat what you think it is. There is no right answer, really. Everybody is different. Every listing is different. Every product, and so on. I do see Rebecca mentioning variation creation is probably harvest to them. Very interesting. We also have some others. Julie and Brendan, hello. Thanks for joining us and thanks for participating in the chat. So Robin, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I'd love to get the full depth and breadth of what you have to say about listings.
All right, like go ahead and start, or just like my comments on the poll?
Oh, both if you'd like, but I was gearing up for the full presentation. So
Let's do the
whatever
full
you prefer.
presentation then. Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. So let me, I'm not as young as I used to be. Amazon wears on you. I got to get my, everything here. All right. Let me know if you can't see my screen. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about all of those things. And we're going to be talking about what it takes to make a listing that converts. So first off, I want to disclaim a couple things. So back in the way back before days, it was kind of like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And you just put out, as long as you had like what we would probably call a poor or mediocre listing, and you had a couple of keywords in it, the world was your oyster. Those days are gone. We can warn them, throw the dirt, plant the daisies, that's done, right? So now listing optimization has a different role. Listing optimization has two pieces that it's working on, and we're going to talk about these two converting things. But listing optimization in and of itself is not going to make you $1 million. This is the key to make your ads and such convert. But now there's enough competition that just having your listing, and even a really, really well optimized listing, is not enough to get to page one. You have to use it in concert with clippable coupons, advertising, getting reviews. There's a whole overall integrated marketing strategy that you need to look at. So it's not just listing optimization or just advertising. It's looking at your Amazon channel holistically and looking at how can we make Amazon happy? And how do we make Amazon happy? We show them the money. Amazon only cares about the money. So we got to do that. So before we get started, if you don't know about me, I shared a little bit about myself. I've spoken at PubCon, Retail Global. I've spoken at Harvard for Women's Entrepreneurship Day. I speak at PubCon regularly and a lot of other smaller trade shows. And we're going to be covering today, making sure that the first step is assessing what your goals are for listing optimization and checking your keywords, titles, carousel images. We're going to talk a little bit about A+ content. I also threw in some things about video at the end just for fun. So, you might say, well, my goal, it's to sell more, because otherwise, why would I be listening to this webinar when I could be out having margaritas by the pool? And yes, that is true, but we actually have to think about beyond that. So there are additional goals. And when we're writing listings and we're crafting the listing copy, we have two competing goals that we're always balancing. And so we have to just, so in the beginning, back in the before days, it was just index for as many keywords as you can. It doesn't matter whether they're relevant, just find those high volume keywords and you want to focus on indexing for as many keyword phrases as possible. Well, that's never going to hurt you. That in and of itself doesn't really help, because to be honest, being indexed for something on page in position 245, it doesn't matter. You might as well not be indexed at all. If it's not in the first page, definitely if it's not in the second page, you're not going to get any views anyway. So it doesn't really matter whether you index for 20,000 keywords. What matters is you index and rank for the most important, most relevant keywords that are going to bring your best buyers in. And that's where I think I see a lot of people get lost. And then they get so focused on that indexing, they forget that there's another goal of the listing, which is to get people to buy the product, that this is your salesperson. This is what would it take for me to put you in a garlic press today guy right here, right? So we also have to write the listing so it reads for a human. It doesn't cheapen your product. And when people come off of like maybe your Facebook ads, or if they come from your website to check to see if reviews, it's a consistent experience if you are building a real brand that's beyond Amazon. So my hot take is that indexing only matters if you rank. Now, I know that you might say, how dare you? Indexing, you want to index for as many keywords as possible, and that is true, but competition has changed this game. And so while we want to index for as many relevant keywords, relevancy being the key, You want to focus on what keywords are you really prepared to spend the money to rank on. And that also means focusing more on long tail keywords. Because if you want to index for bag for a locking beach bag, good for you. I'm glad that's great. It is a relevant thing. Your locking beach bag is a bag, but it's also a trash bag. So does a trash bag and a tote bag and a carry-all bag and a makeup bag. So you're going to bring in a lot of irrelevant buyers. And when you focus on those longer tail keyword phrases, you're going to have more likelihood to rank. So don't get caught in this vanity game of trying to get the biggest search volume. Start with longer tail keyword phrases. I'm going to give you a little secret. If you've ever typed in anything on Amazon and you get like a long autocomplete, people will assume that 4 or 5 word keywords just are never going to get any search volume. Because of autocomplete, sometimes they can have a lot of search volume behind them. So don't discount something just because you think somebody won't type it in, because it could be Amazon could be prompting them to type it in. So we got to look at these 2 goals. If you're not indexed for any keywords, then we do want to rewrite your listing to try to increase the number of keywords. So when you're launching your listing, you're going to be focusing on indexing. If you have very limited brand awareness, if you're a private label seller that doesn't have any brand search, then you're going to really be focusing on indexing for specific keywords. If you have a very, very low competition, there's not any other products that are in your category, and so you're going to be one of only 3 options, then you can really just focus on the indexing. You don't have to focus on conversion as much. And if you have unlimited ad budget, I'm sure anybody at Seller Labs or Marketplace Blueprint would love to talk to you about your ads. But conversion is the other piece, and that's if you're already indexing for keywords. So sometimes brand will come to us. They already have 7,000 reviews. So they're going to be indexed for most of their keywords, even if we took all of the title and the bullets out. For them, it's right about rewriting the listing so it will convert. And then brand awareness drives some traffic. So using that to help harness additional ranking, and then using reviews and conversion history to kind of give you that indexing base so that you can focus on trying to get conversions for the keywords that you're most trying to rank for. So that's where listing optimization and advertising need to work together. You identify the keywords that you think are going to convert the best. You use advertising to help you rank for those based off the search term report that you're getting and what keywords you are actually converting for. Then you adjust the listing. This is more realistic if you have 10 SKUs than if we have a client that has 10,000 SKUs. And so for them to reiterate listings every month or every, to A/B test constantly is a little bit more difficult, but we can A/B test the important things. So we want to focus on making sure that you indexed for your most relevant keywords. And before you optimize, having the right keywords is incredibly important, because you want to look at what are your competitors in the top 10 positions only. I don't care what they're ranking for on page 27, because they're not getting any sales from that anyway. If they're in the top 10 positions, it's more likely that they're getting sales from that. Look at your unit session report. See if you're already converting well. If your listing's converting between 7 and 15%, that's usually going to be the sweet spot for most products. If you're a blue iPhone case, if nothing else special, 3% might be great. If you're like, well, I'm converting at 74%. I got bad news. That's not good. You're converting at 74%. That means the only people who are coming to your page are people who were already going to buy your product. It means you're not reaching anybody new. So too high means your targeting is too narrow. We need to expand out, expanding. And then if it's too low, we want to look at, is it you have the wrong keywords, you're targeting the wrong customer, or is there something on your listing that's causing people not to convert? So, if your price is $70 more than everybody else and you haven't demonstrated that you're a luxury product, and we have a product that has been selling like hotcakes, it's 50% more than the next lowest price competitor. It's more than double the price of all of the ones knockoffs from China. And it's selling like crazy because they have done a really incredible job of presenting themselves as a luxury brand. This is a $90 home item for a bathroom, and it does really, really well. So it's not about being the lowest price, but it is about, if your price is higher, demonstrating why should somebody pay. What are the real benefits to purchasing yours? And there are a lot of components to indexing. So title, bullets, carousel images, the structured data, A+ content, including some of the metadata, and then the store page isn't necessarily going to help you rank, but it can help you increase your average order value, which can also help. So let's go ahead and did that all make sense so far, Will?
So far, so good, Robin, I think. I would like to take a moment for a couple of questions that we've gotten. First, are we able to get a copy of the presentation slides? Yes. All registrants and attendees should get an email in the next 24 hours with a recording of this presentation. So sort of, it's the presentation itself, the entire webinar, rather than just the slideshow. How important is it to make sure my title indexing is leading the chart from competitors? I'm not quite sure the angle of this question, Robin. What are your thoughts?
I think I might know what they're talking about. And when we get to the title, I'm going to talk a little bit. It might be, so there's a conversation in the private label community, especially, that you need to have kind of an exact match. That might be what they're talking about in the title. So I am going to touch on that. If you want to, if that was your question, give us a little more background, and then we'll make sure before we get to the title part to make sure that we get that answered.
Yep. And the only other question, this one was posted in the chat. What is your definition of indexing?
Good question. So indexing means that if I'm trying to index for Loungefly Nemo backpack, if somebody types in Loungefly Nemo backpack, it means I'm somewhere in the search results. Can be positioned 4,200,000, blah, 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 right? But somewhere, and just to kind of, so in the larger digital marketing space, they call the search engine results page a SERP. So as long as you're somewhere in the SERP, doesn't matter where, you're indexed. And so, and then the ranking is going to be dependent on how you convert for that specific keyword. There's more to it than that, obviously, but if we were to oversimplify it, the way that we rank for specific keywords is to show Amazon relevancy through things like making purchases that come from that keyword phrase. There's lots of other ways to do it too, but that's going to be the primary way that you should have white hat control over doing that. And when I say white hat, I mean ways to convert to work that algorithm without breaking Amazon's rules.
Right. Absolutely. That's all the questions we have for now. Just a quick reminder before we move on, if you do have questions, please be sure to post those in the Q&A section of Zoom rather than chat. We're able to refine those a little better and make sure they get answered in a timely manner.
So as you're getting your keywords, you want to research your product niche, your competitors, look at your audience, and I want you to really think about what you put on the packaging. If you are a non-Amazon brand that's coming into Amazon, what did you put on the packaging that you were said, this is so important when people will not buy the product even if they can see it based off of without this other information. Those are really important things. And then I want you to think, if somebody didn't know the name of your product, what would they be searching for? If you don't have an idea, so I had somebody who came to me once, and I've used this example before, so bear with me if you've already heard it. It was a seat belt for a purse to keep your purse from tipping over in the car. And she's like, I want to sell this on Amazon. And I said, well, that's going to be a little difficult. This was a lot long. This was, 6 years ago when top of funnel advertising was pretty much impossible on Amazon. Now it's more doable, but it's a heavier lift. If there's not keyword phrases that are really relevant that are going to bring in people to buy your product, your launch on Amazon is going to be more difficult, and you're going to have to really rely on sponsored brands videos, sponsored display videos, those kinds of things in order to get your product to start getting some sales. So when I'm doing keyword research, I try to filter to keywords that are in the top 25 positions for my competitors. And I usually perform several different searches and to compare that data. And then we generate a root keyword list. So if you're using some of the tools, you want to get kind of all of the single words, making sure you're including all of the single words as much as possible. Now, Amazon has said it doesn't matter whether you do white chocolate fudge or fudge white chocolate, but sometimes, especially private label folks, have seen that there does make a difference, especially in the title. So do you have to have an exact keyword phrase for your title? And when people started talking about this, I think I heard the first person I heard say it was Brandon Young. But one of the things that we were looking at in our agency is, why are we not seeing that? Why does that not seem to make a difference for us? And we realized that we work primarily with brands that are not Amazon native. So they already came to us with people searching for their brand. They already had social media traffic that was being buzzed to Amazon. So for those brands, if you already have that, then having identifying the exact right order for your keywords for your title is not nearly as important if you are launching a garlic press. If you are launching a garlic press, then you need to try to identify which keyword phrase you're going to really focus your advertising on trying to rank for, and you're really sure is going to convert well for you, and then A/B test those. And then, the other thing is, of course, we want to come out as strong as possible because we want to take advantage of that honeymoon period. A/B test your titles. We have that same bathroom product that is twice as much of its competitors. It has been growing month over month, month over month. Things started to stabilize. I mean, they're still having good growth, but they weren't growing as fast. And so what we did is we tested changing the order of the keywords in the title, and that allowed the ads to perform at a much better rate. So whether it's the algorithm noticing it or by changing the order, it made it so it helped the eyeballs of the human understand this is what they were looking for. And it's probably a combination of both. So it's not like, so you have to understand that while having the right match type is important, if you do that to the point where your keyword stuffing and your title looks like it was written by somebody who learned English 25 minutes ago, then it's still not going to convert well. And you still have to get impressions for it to convert. So it is a piece of the puzzle, but don't get so fixated on it has to be perfect, it has to be right, or I'm trying to accomplish this goal, that you miss testing and writing for conversion, especially if you have products that are already successful and you're trying to make incremental changes. The way to do that is to A/B test. And so I just want to back up and say A/B testing is when you test one variable at a time. Very important, one variable. Amazon provides tools to do this. You don't have to use Amazon's tools, but basically we run the title 1, we run title 2, and then we identify which title performs better. The advantages to using the Amazons like Manage My Experiments is that you do get a little bit clear data because they're able to cycle through. You don't have to worry about things like, well, did a TikTok poster on this week versus that, or some other external force. But you do have to be eligible. Not all products are eligible. They don't have enough volume. And if you're only getting 10 impressions a week, A/B testing is not going to be able to help you because you don't have enough traffic to get a statistically significant data set. So, so do the best that you can. And one of the things that we say on our team sometimes is perfect is the enemy of done. So launching with a good, solid title, not half bottomed, but making sure that you have a good, solid title, that you're picking your most relevant keyword phrase and trying to provide some exact match. If you have a known brand, having your brand in there is your most important exact match. And so, of course, make sure you include your title. So the keyword phrase piece, the keyword piece is the most important piece. If you do not have the keywords right, then garbage in, garbage out. Your listing will not do what you need it to do. The next thing we need to talk about is structured data. This is things like variations. This is things like the right category. Not everybody knows. We actually just audited an account that came from another very well-known agency. In fairness to that agency, and it was not Seller Labs, just to clarify.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify. We got the listings. We started to do our audit, and we realized out of 75 listings, there's only 3 kinds of products. They're this, or this, right? Like a pillow, a scarf, a purse, right? There's not what they are, but there's 3 things like that. There were 57 different categories that they were all in. So no variations used at all. And so the brand owner's like, I don't know why we're not growing. And I'm like, oh, I can make 500 reasons right here. So category is very important because it changes the way your ads perform. And it changes the way that Amazon sees you as relevant for specific keywords. So there can be a temptation. I'm going to pick a different category because it's a lower fee or because it allows variations and I need variations. You want to pick the best category that is the right fit for your product, or you are going to have trouble as you start to scale. So making sure you're in the right category is really, really important. And also it's important for filtering. But for the most part, the ads are really where it's going to have the biggest impact. When it comes to variations, the thing about variations is like a lot of the structured data is that you need to have what we call professional persistence. So like I said in the beginning, we have 3 full-time people who just sit on seller support tickets. And the reason for that is because you submit things with a flat file, you will be able to track what was submitted and you get better support. But then you have to follow up. The other thing, that if your listing is not converting and you are a shampoo or a food or some other liquid, look at your competitors and look at yours, the ounces, the weight. If everybody else is 3 cents per ounce and you are something per pound, Americans are not good at math. I don't know if you know this, but Americans aren't great at math. So you need to make it as apples to apples comparison, unless it looks better because of the way that you've done it. There was there was a third pound hamburger that they were trying to market. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then A&W was marketing a third pound hamburger, and they had to stop because people thought a quarter pounder was more than a third of a pound, right? So if you make it that could be one of the reasons when people are looking. And now that data, the ounces, the fabric, the plastic, those kinds of things show above the bullets, it is a very big deal. We had a baby bottle that was showing that it was plastic when it was silicone. People who are shopping for silicone bottles are looking for them specifically because they are not plastic. So depending on who your target audience is, if you have an eco-friendly product and whoever puts your flat file in, you just hired somebody on Fiverr and they just put plastic in, you could be causing 99% of your traffic to run out the door. As somebody who's eco-friendly, I compost, I cloth diapered. It makes me absolutely bat poop crazy if I buy a product that markets its whole marketing thing on that it is an eco-friendly product and it comes in 75 Ziploc bags and 400 things of plastic. You are alienating your customers. I will not buy certain brands, even though I love them, because it comes in plastic, and I try to reduce my plastic. I still use plastic, but I try to reduce it. So think about things like that as well. I know that was I kind of made a left turn in Albuquerque, but
no worries. Real quick, I'm sorry, Robin.
Yeah, no, I was actually just going to pause it. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. We're already on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. We do have one question about Marketplace Blueprint itself. I'm going to save that one for later after the presentation, if that's okay with you. Another question here, are you using software for your title A/B testing? I know you mentioned that Amazon has its own tools present. Do you recommend only using those tools or using a separate software or another method?
We have bounced around. So for SEMrush has a free A/B testing tool, but sometimes the uploads, because they're basically just using a flat site, sometimes that doesn't work. If we tend to always use the Manage My Experiments whenever possible, just because there are some definite advantages and you get much clearer data. If we can't do that, we have a pretty decent sized analytic team because we have run a lot of ads and we do a lot of reporting. So we will just run the data ourselves. The thing about doing that, where we have, like say we're testing A/B testing a title, if a product doesn't qualify for Manage My Experiments because maybe it doesn't have the velocity, but we think it has enough velocity to try something, we want to test it with ads. If we can do it where we just run title A for 2 weeks, title B for 2 weeks. Sometimes the brand will get a little itchy if one of the titles causes conversion to slip. But then there's a lot of external factors. So we have a lot of Shark Tank companies that we work with. If a rerun happens, it's hard to identify, was it the title or was it the rerun that caused that? So there are tools that will help you do it, but I like Manage My Experiment because the data is a little bit clearer. But you have to run a pretty long experiment. So it's you can't just do a couple days here and there to test. But I usually lately we really prefer Manage My Experiments, and if not, we just run the data internally through some internal macros that we've built.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. We have a question from JT. Hi, JT. Good to sort of see you again. Is there any risk to changing the title, or is it clear you can revert back to the original and still perform the same?
As long as you are brand registered and you own the brand registry, you should be able to, knock on wood, the way that Amazon is designed to work, you should be able to revert back. I will not jinx the entire group of people who are on this call by telling you it always happens, because that will guarantee that it will stop. In general, that's not something that we have run into. And if you have a SaaS core or business development, or your agency is a partner network member, you can usually get that escalated when it does get stuck. But you're going to still have to deal with all the same things to change. Where you will get stuck is if you are trying to change something where a title and you add a keyword that could be flagged, or so if you have in there some keyword that is not allowed, it's kind of against terms of service. By A/B testing it away, you might not pass to get back into that. So, assuming that you're in terms of service, you're going to another in terms of service title, you should be able to swap back and forth. Vendor Central, it is harder to get those title approves changed than it is on Seller Central. It's one of the only things that's harder to do listing wise on Vendor Central versus Seller Central, because they want them. Amazon really thinks short titles convert better, and there's a reason why. And I'm gonna talk about that in a second. But most of us that actually live and breathe Amazon know that longer titles are pretty keen too. So
indeed, thank you. We've got one more question, and before I move to this question, I do want to add we're probably going to stop a little less often for questions until the end. That is, we're about halfway through our time. And I think you have a lot more steps to go through. So I'll give you this question, and then we will stop a little less often so we can reach our destination on time. How long does that honeymoon period you mentioned last?
I think that anybody tells you that they know that would be lying. Nobody really knows. Some people say it's hours, some people say it's days, and I don't think that it's important that we get caught up in how long it is. It's just when you launch, you want to launch so everything launches at the same time. Your inventory is not just at the warehouses, but fully available. Your ads are running, your deals are running. You've got full listing coverage, that the listing is well optimized. And then you just want to, and then if you have an email list, if you have social media, you're doing everything you can to drive traffic as soon as possible. I would say as long as you're, obviously as soon as you can, but it's not like you need to get up at midnight to try to, do something special to get your listings going. You have some time, but we usually tell people like we want to focus on the first day, but nobody really knows how much the honeymoon period is and how much it's just you're launching and you're getting a lot of conversions all at the same time. So if somebody knows that, I'm going to imagine they're really held to an NDA anyway.
Right. As I said, Jeff, if you're watching, go ahead and hit us up.
Yeah. No, I was going to say something. No, I'm not going to. All right. So I don't use AI for titles. I saw this tweet and I thought it was really great. I spent 20 minutes using ChatGPT to do something I would take 1 minute with Google. Here's how I did it. You can too. And so ChatGPT is great, but sometimes I see people working really, really hard to do things with ChatGPT that they probably could have done faster themselves. Now, once you have what you kind of want to, kind of build, you can, if you had 10,000 titles to write, then yeah, you can say, hey, ChatGPT, I want you to switch out the product name, switch out the colors, those kinds of things. But brand name, unless you have no brand search, right? So then there can be a debate whether or not you want to include your brand. we tend to default to including the brand because we only work with brands that are really trying to build out more of a brand than a product base. Your product name, your main product feature, size, color, weights, and then if you have room, alternate uses. But remember, we want to think about in the gallery and on Google, you have about 72-ish characters. So the first 72 characters need to read by themselves and allow people to see. And then you need to look at how does it truncate in the SERP, and is all of the most important information in the first part of the title. We want to pair that with the fact that there's an image right underneath it. So while it is very important if somebody's searching for a Navy item that you include Navy in the title, they can see it's Navy because there's an image there. So we can move that to the end and we can move something else to the front. So this is, I was looking for a poof and I was like, wow, look at all of these furniture items with atrocious titles. No wonder. So I decided to pick, if this is your product, I'm sorry. Well, maybe not because you got a title. So I would rewrite this. So we want to include important keywords, but you can see like a lot of the other ones in this category were like square, ottoman, footrest spelled out, poof, and like all of these different combinations. Include the keywords, but order them in a way that makes sense and doesn't look like a robot wrote them. So I'm letting them know that this is a square ottoman, poof, and footrest, and the size. And then this part's probably going to get cut off in the SERP, but that's okay because as people, so we want to think about in the first part, this is going to charge, this is your ad copy. So I want you to think of the very first keywords of your title as this is the copy for your sponsored products. So if you come at it that way, you might be able to, and then kind of this extra is where you give people, and I see a lot of just general cleanup. Like, I don't know why they've got inches, like double quotations here. But if you've got something like, something like fancy, your product is Fancy Nancy, 16-ounce bottle, then at the end you want to say, wood cleaner for, cleaner for wood items or something, if you have a fanciful title and it's not clear what your product does from your product name and brand name, then you want to add what it is good for. Here's an example of, I just picked this because I like Disney. I don't know if anybody who knows me knows that. But so they have Loungefly, Finding Nemo, Nemo and Friends backpack. So we've got Nemo in here quite a bit, and we don't have, like, this is you got Mr. Ray here, we got Squirt, we got Nemo, we got Dory, or I can't tell if that's not Dory, that's the other kid. But anyway, so I changed it to Loungefly, Finding Nemo, Pixar and Disney mini backpack, because people who are looking for Finding Nemo, some people think it's Disney, some people think it's Pixar. It's kind of technically both, with Mr. Ray, Squirt, and Friends. It's important for Mr. Ray, Squirt, and Friends to be in here. We've already got Nemo in the title because there's not a lot of, there's search volume for Mr. Ray, but there's not a lot of items. But we can see in the picture that Mr. Ray's in there. So we can add that at the end. And the fact that this is an Amazon exclusive, that's going to be a bonus piece. People aren't going to buy it specifically for that, but people are searching for that, and we can see that. So I wanted to include kind of, this is Loungefly's thing. I'm going to kind of tear apart their listing a little bit. They have a zillion different franchises and a zillion different things, and their listings have improved light speed in just light years in the last 6 months. They used to be a lot worse. So I think they have an Amazon manager who's doing a great job, but it's going to take time. So let's go ahead and start talking first about the bullets. So I just saw this tweet today. This guy's a really great guy to copy. I forgot to finish the end of that slide, but one of the best things you can do is trying to figure out how can we say what we need to say in fewer words. Big blocks of text usually get scanned over, which is why when you do a longer title, when you do a really long title, or you do a lot of really long bullets, having those capitalized words at the beginning help, because people will just glaze over the whole thing, right? Which is why Amazon wants you to do short ones, is in their mind, they know that people will not read these large blocks of text. So they want it to keep short and concise because it converts better. They're not taking into account, that we're trying to kind of hack their algorithm, right? So we want to think about why they're making those recommendations and use them in a way that makes sense. So we do use ChatGPT for bullets, but we don't use them the way that I think a lot of people think that an agency might use them. So I just want to remind you that AI is a large language model, or it's a Lambda, depending on which one you're using. It does not know what your product is. You give it information, and it's basically a word calculator. So it says, based off this word, we think that this word would be next, and we think this word would be next. So that's why it gives some things that are sometimes not correct. And it's not really great for research. You always want to double check. It can be a great place to get started, but AI tends to write in circular logic and it reads funny. So you need to make sure you are editing everything, and the better the prompt, the better the result. So with great power comes great responsibility. Let's talk about better AI prompts. So first off, if you ask it if Jerry Springer is alive, it'll be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's alive. Why wouldn't he be alive? He's dead. So especially ChatGPT, older content. And then it's going to just make things up. And we can't be mad at it for making things up, because that's literally what it was designed to do, is just making things up. So if I say, hey, write 5 bullets for these antimicrobial socks, and it doesn't know that Amazon's going to make this a pesticide now because you've said antimicrobial 17 times and you said bacteria. It also says these are vibrant blue. Maybe to my husband who's colorblind, but to me, they are not vibrant blue. So they will make up things about your product that are not true. So you can use it as a base to edit. You cannot use this as a quick way to generate all my titles and bullets. So when we're looking at as an agency, we go through a brand's social media, their website. We look at the communications they have, their existing Amazon listing, their reviews, especially their About Us section on their website, and we hear how they write and how they talk with their customers. And we take that into consideration. So I'm going to be showing you how I would rewrite these title and bullets for Loungefly, but they would probably never get approved for Loungefly, because we'd have to decide with Disney, are we talking in the Disney voice? Are we talking in the Loungefly voice? Or are we talking in the Finding Nemo voice? And even Finding Nemo has different voices. We've got Marlin's voice and we've got Crush's voice. So I just picked one. But when you're working with brands, especially, you need to find out how their language works. If they're a very relaxed and casual brand and you come out with very technical, stiff writing, it's going to feel wrong to their customer base. And so it's not going to convert as well. So you need to kind of take into mind that play with tones a lot in the prompt. And so that would be part of the research that we would do. If you're not doing that for your brand, if you're the brand owner, then you need to make an actual decision on what your brand voice is. Is it casual? Is it playful? Is it hip? Is it corny? Is it very technical? How is it? And this is, what they have on their website. And you can see it's a little bit more straight laced. So that's why I would never pitch these bullets to the bullets that I'm going to show you to Loungefly. We'd first have to talk about if they want to have it based off the franchise that they're working with or their voice. So prompts matter. ChatGPT is a language model, but it can do a lot more with better prompts. And then again, everything needs to be edited. So if I say, hey, write me some bullets, these are the bullets that it will generate. They're not horrible. I mean, I've seen worse, but they're not great either. And they're not keyword packed. So if I say, hey, pretend that you're the CMO of Loungefly, write me 15 bullets for this thing. Here's the size of it. It's vegan leather. It's an official licensed Disney product. I want it to be written in a play and hip and playful. People get focused on it has to be like a mathematical algorithm. The whole idea is that you can chat with it and make it better. So don't get caught up in, so-and-so put this at the beginning. Just keep playing with it and, keep iterating in the same chat. That's important, in the same chat, until you get one and say, I don't like this, I do like that. It will make it better. So this is what it produced off of that. So even here, even just these, I could combine this content and make good 5 solid bullets just right there. But then what I did is I asked it one more thing in between this. What did I ask? I asked it to list out 25 benefits of the product. And then I asked it to write me 5 bullets based off of this and the 25 benefits that it listed. And then I got these: dive into adventure, vegan friendly fashion. These are much better than these first ones, the Loungefly mini backpack featuring Mr. Ray, Squirt, and Nemo from Finding Nemo. This is already better right? And then I said, can you take the previous prompt and make the tone more playful? And I got make a splash, vegan vibes, which is very much kind of in that like crush, turtle talk kind of voice. So then what I did is I took all of that, I mixed and matched, and then I added in my own content saying, all right, I know that people who are also looking for Mr. A are also fans of Finding Dory. So I know I need to put Dory in here somewhere. So I said, this design is so cute, even Dory could remember it, right? So again, we would have to talk. I'm not saying that this is what Loungefly should change theirs to, but you can see how with using the right prompts, and then you take everything that it's produced, and then I looked through all of them. I said, oh, I kind of like this one. I like this one. I like this one. And then I combined it together, threw it into Scribbles or whatever version of something that you're looking that crosses out the keywords. And I rewrote individual sentences to maximize the number of root keywords in the title, or I'm sorry, in the bullets. So in comparison, this was the first one. And then this is what kind of the edited piece are. I see a lot of people using these capitalized sections, but they say things like smart. You want to think about these couple of capitalized words are, if somebody's like, is this what I want? Is this what I want? 3 words to say, this is what you want. It's, I'm looking for a small backpack. Oh, I want it to be vegan. Oh, I'm looking for this to be cute for, I'm going to Disney. Is this a real Disney product? Because I've been boonswoggled by companies that have cheap knockoffs before. So, make a splash is a little bit kind of more, is a little off of what I'm trying to say. And if we were really working this for a brand, this would go through probably 4 or 5 more iterations before it would be perfect. But I just wanted to give you an idea. So if you're looking at your capital words and they say things like great purchase or great gift, that's not really clarifying enough. You say the perfect gift for, the perfect gift for your little engineer, something along those lines, like STEM, STEM made fun, something along those lines. So think about what are the motives of your buyer, and these should be the benefits. How is this making them make their life better, right? So I know as a Loungefly customer, Loungefly, feel free to send me any swag you want. That the fact that it's small and compact is one of the things that I like. And the fact that it's branded is the biggest thing, is, that there's such cute designs is one of the real reasons. So, a lot of people wear these at the parks. So we wanted to highlight that. Now let's talk about AI and the images and video. So that same Loungefly listing, again, light years from where they were, they just have the product close up. And this is so much better than just one product image, because Loungefly's got all these really cute things. Like it says underneath this little thing, it has another image with a seahorse that says, I'm going to touch the butt, and so, they have these great little details and they're highlighting them. That's great. But we want to include the text, the most important things from the bullets, and mirror them in the images, because on mobile, that's where people see first, right? So they're not going to see the bullets unless they really scroll down. So I checked a bunch of different AI things. I tried to make some images from like DALL-E and stuff. And let me tell you, they will give you nightmares. Not quite there yet. Either that or I just have the wrong prompts. So I threw some things in Canva. I am not a designer. These hurt my eyes, but I threw these together. I timed myself. It was literally, with the exception of uploading the file, like I spent 5 minutes on all 3 of these. And I have, just adding some text in there. Now we would never submit these to Loungefly. But I had my designers, I said, spend no more than just a little bit of time, like a quarter of the time of what you would normally spend on a client, just throw some together. I'm not sure if I love the ocean in the background. I told them to do that, but now I'm not sure if it looks cluttered. So comfortable straps, all day comfort, zippered front and pouch, and we're highlighting those same things that they did in these images right here, where we're showing them the pieces up close, but we're highlighting why we're showing them. And then this can be really valuable, showing that you have additional product extensions in the carousel images, and then mimicking those down in the A+ content in the comparison. So this is kind of more like what I'm talking about really if you were to do the images right, mirroring the bullets in the images, so that we can say that these are the most important things. And we're going to, I took some images that I liked, and we're really demonstrating what the product does. And before, video used to be optional. It's not optional anymore. I mean, technically it is, but you really, really want video. The reason you really, really want video is, one, video ads have a lot less competition. Two, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the videos, if your competitors don't have videos, your videos will show up on their competitor page for free. So it's one of the few free organic things that you can do these days. And they really can help with conversion, especially if you have a product that needs to be put together, or like you really need to see it in action. Chef Kiss really improves conversion rates. So Amazon, just my tip of the hat to Jeff Cohen. This video builder, I had never used it. We have an in-house video team, so we don't use this, but I threw one together from an old brand that we used to sell wholesale like a zillion trillion years ago. And so you go into the Amazon builder, it's in advertising and then brand creative, add a video, select a brand, add a product. You just select a template. If you highlight over one of these, you hover, it will show you the video. And then you edit, all you get to do is edit the intro. You add a logo, and then you have like 3 different, you can change the fonts and the colors. And then this is what it puts together for you. It takes that pure white image, and it just does this. Now, this is not going to win any film awards, right? Like, this is not great, but it is better than Upkiss, right? This is where the logo would go, right? So if you just need a video, you could have a video by dinner time. I would say lunchtime, but I'm the only one probably on the Pacific Coast, right? So by the time you get off work today, you could have videos for several of your products. You could put your team on this really quick and start video ads right away. I wanted to also show you, having a video, you can use things.
I recommend looking at a company called VT Advantic.
VT Advantic.
VT Advantic. VT Advantic.
VT Advantic.
I love the feel of the bevels. I really want to feel that pronounced edge on each corner. Leather grips help contour that handle so you get a better idea of where your grip position is.
For my undergrip, currently using their leather.
So that video, we just took a bunch of slices together and then just added some overlay of text. This is where a good video designer can take some, like the video of this gentleman, it's very much UGC, which actually converts pretty well. But adding that professional text over it and splicing it together with some music makes a big difference. Just a reminder, there are like almost no regulations on size and quality level for the carousel images. There are very specific images requirements for video ads. And if you are cool enough to be in SaaS, the freebie videos that they offer, where you can do the freebie videos, they are very, very specific on those. And there is no room for error. You have to meet every single specification. Even then, sometimes they kick it back. So I have another video. I wasn't sure if I'd have time to share this. This is a first draft of a video designer that we are just onboarding in the last 2 weeks. So this is showing you where you would need to edit. So he took some of the initial video that the client provided. This is a still shot that he's just zooming in. He added in the branded font. And this is also video that they had. And so again, we have just a couple of splices that he added in. Now there's something like this, see where this is like covering the product that needs to be moved. There's some aesthetic things that need to be fixed. But, this is something that even a young video designer who doesn't have a lot of experience doing product videos could throw together. And I think he spent an hour, 2 hours on this. And we will, we're obviously going to make a bunch of edits before we send that to the client or have the client upload that. But that would be something that I just had him pick a product and do that. So with Marketplace Blueprint, my information is down here. Robin at Marketplace Blueprint. And then if you go to marketplaceblueprint.com/show, I have a listing guide. And now I wanted to hope that gave enough room. I didn't leave enough time for questions. I'm sorry. Well, I failed you.
Well, no, I think we are in decent shape. One of the questions is pretty in-depth. One of them I can answer, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. We have a question. What is UGC? That's user-generated content, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes. User-generated content works really, really good in carousel videos. And it can work well. Like you just have to be careful that you follow Amazon's terms of services. And of course, you have license to use that image. Just because somebody posts a review on TikTok doesn't mean you have license to use that video. You need to pay the creator appropriately for that video.
Indeed. Now, speaking of video editing, we have another question. Have any recommendations for video editors? It's not clear whether they meant software or services, but either I think would be great.
So it depends on what you're trying to do. I think that there are you could probably use something like Steve AI if you just have a couple of video clips and you just want to play with it. With the video designers that we use actually use Adobe to edit their videos in. Honestly, I'm not really even, they just make the magic happen for us. So I would have to check with them, but if you reach out to me, I can ask you if I can ask them if they have tools that they recommend. I've been playing with a tool called Descript, but it's not quite there. Steve AI is not really quite there for me yet either. But I was working on some of those for like a little side project, more podcasty kind of stuff. But you can, there are lots of video creators, a lot of agencies can provide it. And then there's a lot of people on Fiverr and Upwork. Ask for portfolio work, make sure you know the number of revisions. And I will tell you the most important, as somebody who offers creative services, here's where things go wrong. If you just say, make me a logo, or can you make my images, and then you give me nothing, then I have to guess. Now I'm going to look at your website, I'm going to look at your Facebook marketing, but I have to guess what works best. The clients that are happiest with the results are the ones that say, this is the fonts we like, this is the colors we like, here's the 5 images that we think, here's our 5 most important benefits, here's the images that we like for each of those. Here's some examples of videos that we do like, what we like about them, some videos that we don't like, what we don't like. That is the best way to get better work out of your creative professionals, giving them direction and having patience. They are coming and they are visiting your product. You live your product, right? So when it comes to that, they might not realize. So I'm doing a bunch of things for a little side project that I have for Disney. And I had a video editor and he accidentally included a picture of the teacups in Disney World instead of Disneyland. And I was like, that's not right. That's not right. There's no way no normal person can tell the teacups at Disney World. You have to be a freak like me to know the difference, right? So you need to be patient and expect things to have iterations. And if you're on a tight timeline, that means communicating with them when you expect it done, providing a lot of buffer for revisions. Revisions is where, so it could be that they start off really far away from your overall creative vision. Each revision should get you closer because nobody knows the product and the brand voice that you're trying to develop more than you do.
Excellent. Thank you. Good information. By the way, we have 2 minutes left. I can stick around a little longer if you can, Robin, for additional questions. Perfect. Now, if the rest of you cannot, again, you'll get a copy of this recording within the next 24 hours. So real quick, it was services specifically that they were looking for. So just to sum up, you can go on Fiverr, you can find other people, but just remember, get a portfolio, be patient, provide as much context as you can. Would that be an accurate summation?
And when you're looking at their portfolio, ask, what did they give you? Did they give you that full video and you just added the text? Or did they give you pieces? And that's one thing I try to be really, I might show like a brand that's in our portfolio. Well, if that brand gave us amazing images to start with, it's important to give that brand, that's one of the key components. If you're trying to build in your assets, Suna.co, right to get images and video product photography. And you can use stock video, stock photography in your videos and in your creative, as long as you pay for them. Make sure you keep that, make sure you purchase those if you're working with an agency or creative person. Just so you know, the rules for copyright in the US is that if you hire a US person to create your images or your videos, you do not automatically own the rights to those images or videos. It needs to be in the contract that you own license, royalty-free license to use those images. So make sure, I think that on Upwork that might already be written, but make sure that you clarify that before you start work, especially if you have a product that you're going to, you're going to be doing a lot of exposure on. The last thing you want is somebody coming back and asking for their royalties.
Excellent. Great point. Thank you, Robin. More about video. We have a broad range of questions for the next few. One more about video. Is there any concern about asking customers to post videos to your listing if you provide incentives?
In general, you never want to provide an incentive for somebody to do something on Amazon, because Amazon could look at that as manipulation. On the video area, I don't know if they've completely fleshed out that creative. Could you get away with it? Maybe. Could Amazon tie that back to your account and say that that's some sort of manipulation? Maybe. And it's going to depend on, so we have clients that ask us this all the time, like, can I just have my brother post it? And I usually say, I'm never going to tell you to do anything that can be remotely considered a terms of service violation, because my job is to help keep your nose clean. But I will tell you that they are creepily good at noticing, especially first connections. So, it is against terms of service to leave a review. And I think with those video uploads, it usually is under the review section. It kind of falls under review. You cannot leave a review. Your family and friends cannot leave a review, and your employees cannot leave a review. And you can't leave a review on your competitors as well. So as long, just keep that in mind as you're thinking about those strategies. It's not something that I would do as, I think that there's lots of other ways. Other way to get free organic traffic is Amazon posts. You can get quite a few impressions. It is a long game though. And it takes time. It's not put 3 posts up and you're going to make $1 million. This is incremental things that you can do to try to get traction, especially if you're in a category that is not aesthetic, because aesthetic brands tend to have social media folks already. If you are in some of the categories that, I don't think that a mop company has a ton of Amazon posts. So there would be less content, so you'd be more likely to be seen when they show those in the SERPs.
Yeah, and I think a key word there about posts is free. I think, I don't know how long it's going to remain free, but it's been free for its duration so far. So to sum up, take advantage of posts now if you haven't already, because it may not remain free indefinitely. Okay, so I have 2 more questions that are a little lengthy and kind of oddball, and then one sum up question to just round out the webinar, I think. So one of these, we have a popular scent diffuser, it's a capsule, only compatible with their machine. Their competitor has a machine that looks just like theirs. Customer buys our attendee's product. It doesn't fit the competitor machine. And then our attendee here gets a 1-star review. They are terms of service compliant. They mention compatibility only with our machine, but Amazon keeps removing that image. But the catalog team has said they're TOS compliant. How else, what other methods can they use to get the message across to their customer?
That this product that it is not compatible with?
Correct. Based on my understanding, correct.
I would, I'm trying to think of, so obviously the first things that we're going to attempt are the things, so sometimes if we can avoid keywords that cause things, so instead of saying doesn't fit Apple, where, Apple, rings all sorts of copyright bells, right? Maybe you have an image of a phone that says, and it just says, we need to rework the copy on this, right? But it has a phone and it has like, an X on it that says only this model is only compatible with and list your products and come at it from the other direction. The other thing that you can, or trying to include like working on your product in the videos, working on your product. And then, so sometimes in the comparison charts in the A+, instead of, you can't say my product is better than X product because that's subjective, but you can say, you could have a comparison chart that says ours fits our model, fits competitor products, no. And there's something you kind of have to play around with it without knowing what the product. I know it sounds like I'm a scapegoat, but without knowing what the product is, like if it was, if it's a technical thing, I would approach it probably a little differently than if it was like a car part or something, because it depends on the audience whether or not I thought they would scroll down to the A+ or whether I thought that they would look at the videos. I don't think I gave a real answer.
No, I think you gave some additional context. They did not mention A+ content in their question. They did mention title, bullet points, and supporting images, but not A+ content. So that could be a direction to go, assuming that they're brand registered. It is a scent diffuser capsule, so I'm guessing it's somewhere along the lines of a Glade plugin or an Airwick plugin or Bath and Body Works Wallflower. So I think they could have some good options, especially with A+ content.
Yeah, and then so instead of trying to say not compatible with Glade, what I would say is, our products, something like these things work on our products, and then have kind of like the grayed out person that Amazon puts with the holding the measuring thing. Just have like a grayed out of something that looks like the right shape with an X that says not compatible with competitor products. And don't mention the branded name, because especially in title and bullets, anytime they run a brand registry fraud report, your listing is going to pop up and is going to keep getting reported. So if you can say it, look at trying to say it in a way without using their trademark. I know technically you're supposed to be able to do that, but if it's causing you headaches and hassles, sometimes we got to get a little creative.
Indeed. Thank you for that, Robin. One more question about something else. So there's two more questions, but I'll get to that in a second. So do you have any suggestions for winning the buy box? Currently having a lot of issues with 3P sellers beating us out / also beating us out on a lot of child variations. I think it's hurting our PPC performance because someone clicks an ad of something where they are winning the buy box, but they end up buying a different color variation or they don't own the buy box. Go ahead, please.
Yes, you are correct. You are 100% losing sales. You are burning money. You are helping your competitors. They should send you a cake. Unfortunately, there's no way to get around this. If you want to advertise on a listing with a variation, you need to hold the buy box on all of the variations unless you're willing to help your competitor. So the only time that really works is if you're the brand owner and you're getting the sale regardless. But if you're a reseller, that makes it a little trickier, right? So the only other option that you have there is you could run sponsored brands and run the product direct. I don't know, because then you would have to be the brand owner then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because we actually had a company that was like this, and they had something in small, medium, large, and red and blue. And they're like, well, we want to run ads on the small and the medium, but we don't want to run ads on the large because our costs are higher. We can't really control that. Right. So because whatever we show let's say we show a t-shirt, the customer is not clicking for the most part into the ad because it's a medium. They're clicking into it because it's the t-shirt in the right color. Right. So we can't control. There's no way to siphon off the traffic by negative exact matching. So if it was a color thing, you could limit it a little bit by negative and matching the colors that you don't hold the buy box. That doesn't mean that people aren't going to still go through and click and like the blue better than they like the pink, even though they thought they were looking for blue or what have you. Whatever I said, I lost track of my thought there. But so you do need to hold the buy box on all of the variations in order for that to really work.
Yeah, I can confirm they did add they are the brand owner.
Okay. You are the brand owner, then you can drive sponsored brands to the store page. Or to a store page that only holds the variations that you own. I did a presentation at Prosper for managing 3P sellers. I might be able to send you the slide deck or something along those lines if you email me down in my Star Wars thing, or reach out and I can see if I can give you a little bit more specific advice depending on the category and the type of product.
I'd like to also add, don't forget that it's not just about price when it comes to winning the buy box. It's also about fulfillment, which in my opinion is the most important, as well as your rating as a seller. I was considering buying an NVMe hard drive. I was back in the day when it was really hard to get a PS5. I was one of the few, the PS5 owners. And I bought a second hard drive, but what was winning the buy box was significantly more expensive, but it got to you in 2 days. I did, in fact, choose another variation because of the better price. But again, it's not just the price that matters. All those factors are included. Finally,
and it's not even just
go ahead.
FBA too. It's also where that inventory is in the United States. So sometimes brands will say, I don't know why sales are down. We aren't out of stock. But if you're down to where you only have 3 units in Chattanooga and 3 units in Chicago, somebody in California, that's going to show either somebody else in the buy box or it's going to show a suppressed buy box. So when you get below a certain threshold, you might as well be out of stocks for certain sections of the population. And that's why you might see buy box disappearing. And then, and also looking at price alerts as well.
Excellent. Good point. Finally, last question. What does Marketplace Blueprint do exactly? What services do you provide?
So we do full listing. We do listing optimization, and then advertising, and then for the most of our clients are full channel management, where we handle everything from when Amazon decides that their baby spoon is a sexual wellness toy, emailing seller support every day until we can get that resolved, to help recommending special programs. We do title, bullets, listings, and images or videos. And then we do sponsor brand, display, videos, sponsored products, of course. And then Amazon posts, really depends on the brand. So we really look at trying to help provide like an integrated search approach to Amazon. But we can just do listing op and we can just do consulting hours if that is what you need at the time as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And thank you everybody for attending and joining us. Robin, thank you so much once again. I'm going to have to get in touch with the person that made this so I can see about getting one as well. That is this image of you as a Jedi. I'm going to need that.
Can I say one more thing I forgot to mention?
Of course.
When we're, in the beginning, I talked about how like ads and listing have to go together. One of the biggest things that is important when you're looking at your ads is if something's not causing that conversion, if you're seeing your CTR is not where you want it to be, change your title and your primary image first. So those are the things that are going to impact ad performance the most. If you're seeing things that are not converting once they get to the page where the unit session percentage is where you want to see, or you're not getting enough, then that's where you would change the listing, right? And then when you look at the number of sessions and page views, if you see that the page is converting, but you're not getting enough traffic, then that means we need to drive more. But if it's not converting and we're driving a lot, you see there's lots of impressions, low conversion, and the ads are not converting as well, I would really take a second look at the keywords that you're using, the intent, the buyer that you think that might have, the intent the buyer that you think is there might not be there. And you might want to look at what keywords are performing well, even if they're unexpected, and rewriting the listing. But first step is always, with low CTR, is always new title and new primary image. And people think that the primary image isn't something that needs to be futzed with because it is, just the primary image. We had a company that had a t-shirt and the arm was like this. Because it changed the proportion of the item, it made their thumbnail really, really small. I see this a lot on bottles where they add the shadow at the bottom, which is great graphic design, but it makes the image the wrong, it changes the aspect ratio of the image. And so Amazon will squish it. And so even for products that were bigger ounce-wise than their competitors, they look smaller in the thumbnails. So look at your primary image in the thumbnails. So kind of like in the ads, like on a product page, like people who buy this also, or sponsored related products. And make sure that you're not underselling your product. And then look at, is there any TOS way to make a pattern interrupt in the way that you're positioning your product? If your product is positioned the exact same way as everybody else, obviously with shoes, you can't change it because they have to be done a specific way. But in most categories, you can shift a little bit that primary image if you think that that would provide a pattern interrupt.
Excellent. That's something I hadn't considered before, is Amazon automatically making changes that fundamentally change the user experience. I think also it boils down to shop for your product occasionally. If you don't know what it looks like when a shopper finds it, you need to know that.
And if you hire an agency, for the love of all that's holy, baby Jesus and the grown one too, please make sure you tell your mom not to click on the sponsored products. Like, I know you're
Excellent
proud of the
tip.
listing, but like tell her, you make sure if you share, like we are on Amazon, make sure to include a picture of the word sponsored in that way. Do not click on those. The number of times where we've had, even when we warn them and be like, well, you spent a bunch of money and we're pretty sure that this is what happened. And then somebody, usually not like on the marketing team, it was like somebody further down the line, they shared the product and then they sent everybody to their sponsored product listing. So
Oops.
yeah,
That's one of the first things I changed about my shopping behaviors when I started at an agency. So I understand completely. One more thing, I'm sorry, I know you said one more thing, and now I'm saying one more thing, but the title, those shots of the title you mentioned, my user experience has been fundamentally different this entire time. My title on desktop placements has been starting to the right of the image for me for years. And only just this year did I start seeing all the way left justified titles. And it blew my mind.
Amazon's been playing with the detail pages. You're not losing your mind too. Like Amazon has been playing with a lot of things. And we'll get a brand that will freak out. They'll be like, something's wrong. This has moved. And it's like, just wait 3 days, it'll probably be gone. And there's no way for us to change it really. So, and then, so those are, I think those are the big things around listing. I mean, you and I both know we could literally talk for 4 days about listing optimization and still, to bring up a graphic designer for us new takes about 3 months with graphic design experience because Amazon is such a specific marketplace.
Indeed. I think I'll pass on the 4 days and settle for 15 minutes over our original time. But thank you once again, Robin. Again, Robin's information is right there on the screen right now, marketplaceblueprint.com/show. Robin at marketplaceblueprint.com, at AMZ Robin Johnson. And you can find us at sellerlabs.com. You probably knew that already, but it bears repeating from time to time. Robin, any other closing remarks?
Just know that like sometimes Amazon does orphan listings. They do change categories and they're not doing it on purpose. You just know that there's a front. I see somebody asked that there's a front and a background. Send me a reach out, and I think it's Rebecca, and I can explain why they're doing that. But it has to do with the way that the front and the back end aren't always tied. But when it comes to listing optimization, you want to stay focused. Yes, we want to include indexing. We want to try to focus on ranking. But think about your customer. What does your customer need to know? If you see questions on the listing, that means that there's something that's missing in the listing that somebody wanted to know so badly. They were willing to take the time, ask a question, and come back later. That's not a good thing. So it means there's something missing in your listing. Look at what are the things in the reviews that people are saying was a negative experience. Check your voice of the customer every week to make sure that we can't change something in the listing to make it clear and keep our listings from getting reinstated. These are all things that we do on a regular basis for our clients, and it makes a big difference in making sure you don't lose that positioning through a restriction, but also just making sure that customers are happy and they share your product and you have a lot more brand affinity overall.
I agree. I'm glad you mentioned that because this is a good time for a reminder. Listings are just one part of everything you've got to do on Amazon, not just voice of the customer, buyer seller messaging as well, your advertising, fulfillment, everything. Who knows? We'll probably talk about those on a future webinar too. One more comment I do want to point out, Robin, is Robert Garcia let us know that this is the way.
This is the way.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Robin, one more time.
I just hope it was helpful. Thanks.
I believe it was. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.